There is an intense standoff at the Thiruvananthapuram airport where passengers refuse to deplane from an Air India aircraft. The pilot pressed the hijack alarm. There is tension at the airport. The pilot of an Air India Express aircraft from Abu Dhabi to Kochi pressed the hijack alarm after some passengers tried to allegedly storm the cockpit. And the breaking news that's coming in, DGCA has ordered a probe into this incident. DGCA Chennai regional office will be probing the matter. Headlines today is Durga Nandini now joins me for more on this story. Durga, what's the latest?
Well, it is customary for DGCA to order a probe immediately when such incidents are reported, and that is precisely what is happening. But the nature of this incident is completely baffling because this is something one really, very rarely does one hear of such an incident where a pilot is forced to press the hijack button. Here we see irate passengers trying to storm the cockpit and asking the pilot for an explanation. We're hearing that they did not want to deplane because this flight, which is supposed to land at Kochi, was actually it landed at the Trivandrum airport, and the passengers were very, very angry with the way the crew actually tried to manage the situation out there, and they wanted to talk to the pilot. At this point in time, definitely the entire incident seems to be very, very bizarre. We're hearing that the DGCA has already ordered an inquiry, and a team from the Chennai regional office of the DGCA will be looking into the sequence of events.
Okay. The latest on ground, Durga, are these passengers still in the aircraft? We were told that the police had boarded the aircraft. Have the passengers deplaned? The aircrew still on board? What's the latest on that front?
Well, the last visuals that we could see from the aircraft is that there was a lot of crowd which had gathered outside the aircraft. So it led one to believe that the passengers, those who wanted to deplane at Trivandrum airport, those who had, all of them did have issue because the final destination was Kochi, and this particular plane, the Air India Express plane, which had taken off from Abu Dhabi, had actually landed in Trivandrum due to inclement weather. So all passengers had an issue, but then the police managed to convince many of them to deboard. So what we heard last was most of the passengers were off the plane, but then we do not have a confirmation if those passengers who were protesting and who had actually created this kind of a crisis situation have agreed to deplane as well. So at this point in time, it's status quo. Officials there trying to bring situation under control. They will succeed in doing that in a while from now, but as of now, the situation is definitely volatile.
The situation remains volatile. Durga, stay on with us. These are the latest pictures that we're getting to our viewers from the Thiruvananthapuram airport. This is an Air India Express aircraft. It was flying in. It was to go to Kochi from Abu Dhabi. Because of inclement weather at Kochi, it landed at Thiruvananthapuram instead. We spoke to a passenger on board. He said the main problem that arose was that the aircrew wanted to deplane, but they wanted the passengers to stay on board. One of the passengers also said that they wanted the passengers to actually pay for their flight to Kochi after that, and that is where tension started. The situation erupted. The passenger insists that there was no effort to storm and no attempt to storm the cockpit, but the pilot pressed the hijack alarm. Durga, do we know the circumstances in which the pilot pressed the hijack alarm? Let me quickly bring in headlines today. Is Praveen from the Thiruvananthapuram airport now. Praveen, what's the latest? Is there more clarity on why the pilot pressed the hijack alarm?
Gaurav, now the problem has been amicably solved. That the security meeting, there was an emergency security meeting at the airport, in that it was decided that no action should be taken against the passengers, and the flight will start its journey to Kochi in some time. A new pilot has come in for the flight. So obviously there's a chance of action against the pilot because for overreacting. As the passengers have told the security personnel and also to us that they didn't even try to go near the door of the cockpit. They never tried to barge in. The pilot was overreacting, and they just wanted an explanation from the pilot as to why the flight was there at airport for 6 hours or so. Because all the passengers were sitting inside the flight from the morning for 6 hours, and there was no communication from the side of the pilot as to what could be the next course of action. So that is what made the passengers irritated, and they went to the near the cockpit, and they stood there owing an explanation from the pilot. And then the pilot pressed the alarm button. So the whole situation went out of control, and the security personnel had to be deployed to control the mob. But now the issue has been solved. So the Air India Express guys will have to tell us what action they are going to take against the pilot. But they have decided that to take the flight to Kochi and all the passengers to Kochi. So there won't be any action against the passengers as of now, Gaurav.
Okay, Praveen, stay on with me. So no action against the passengers. The situation has been amicably resolved. The flight will now head for Kochi in a while from now. The question remains, why did it need 6 hours for this situation to be sorted out, to get to that level? Why did the standoff lead to such an intense level at the airport? Well, now we are being told that this flight will be leaving for Kochi very soon. Why did the pilot press the hijack alarm? Did the pilot overreact? Or let us quickly listen in to former DG NSG, Mr. J.K. Dutt. We spoke to him a moment ago. Was the pilot within his or her right to press the hijack alarm? Let's listen in.
You see, if there is if the terrorists storm an aircraft, apparently they would be armed, and they may fire a few shots, they may cause some damage, they may go and threaten the crew or the pilot at a gunpoint or with some weapon. Apparently, this does not seem to have happened in this particular instance. So there may have been something which occurred spontaneously, which may have made the pilot press the alarm button. But this is something which one can ascertain correctly only after having a talk with the passenger. I think what you have mentioned, you put the thing in perspective. It was a flight which had to come back because of inclement weather. The flight had initially been delayed by 3 hours. So apparently the passengers were on a short fuse. But whatever it be, it does not give the passengers the license to take the law into their own hands. What has happened is something which will have to be seen. There are laws which determine the action of pilots, crews, and passengers. And the appropriate section of law, I think, would deal with it. Under the Indian Penal Code, it may perhaps be said that these passengers became irritated and they were trying to force their entry and obstruct the person from performing his duty.
Okay, so J.K. Dutt there saying whatever be the situation, the passengers should not take law into their own hands. So is the government being soft on the passengers? Praveen telling us that passengers, no case will be filed against the passengers. Praveen, why is the government being soft? Why are authorities being soft on the passengers? If they did take law into their own hands, should they not be proceeded against? What's the logic for not proceeding against the passengers?
Gaurav, the whole issue actually started with the allegation that the passenger tried to enter the cockpit. Now that very allegation itself has been dropped because the authorities say the passengers didn't even try to enter the cockpit. They were just, protecting against the pilot in front of the cockpit. They didn't even knock on the door of the cockpit. So pilot was just overreacting. So now the government has, the authorities have taken into consideration the situation where the passengers were in, because they have been sitting inside the flight for 6 hours or so without any proper answer. And we have to understand one thing, that Air India Express really has no facility in Trivandrum Airport for their dispatch. And, they don't have their senior fellow sitting there coordinating. Their entire operations are managed from Kochi. So now they haven't got any proper answer for more than 6 hours. And it was very natural for the passengers to get agitated. So they had just shown their agitation in front of inside the aircraft. So there were no real incident of them entering the cockpit or trying to enter the cockpit.
Okay.
So the very allegation itself was dropped. So there is no serious issue to
Okay.
book the passengers against. So there are no case against them now. So the officials obviously have to be soft on them, and now they are looking for the possibility of taking action against the pilot, because his action had created the whole issue that actually blown out of proportion.
Okay.
If they had not really pressed the alarm bell, the things would have got solved much earlier, and they would have started their continued their journey to Kochi much earlier.
Okay,
So
stay
now
on
the
with me,
situation,
Praveen.
the
For
entire
a moment, let's cut across. Let's listen into one of the passengers, Premji. We spoke to him just a short while back. Let's listen into Premji's experiences.
From 6:30 in the morning, they landed here in Trivandrum Airport. Actually, already it was late, 2.5 hours from Abu Dhabi, and landed on. It's supposed to land on Cochin Airport at 3:30 morning, but because of fog, it landed on Trivandrum Airport at 6:30, and there was the pilot was informed us that there is a delay because of the fog in the Cochin Airport, and they need to refuel the flight. And what happened is, till now there is no decisions are taken, and they, after a few hours later, they promised that there is a new pilot is coming, and the pilot is there on board, but nothing is happening here till now. And on board there are a lot of small children and ladies and pregnant ladies, and everyone are waiting inside the flight without any patient, because from the morning itself it is same situation we are facing till now.
Okay, so there's a passenger who says we did not try and storm the aircraft. Now, authorities there say perhaps it was the pilot who overreacted and pressed the alarm, the hijack alarm, and then a standard operating procedure kicks in. There is a drill that's put in place. Was that overreaction on the part of the pilot? Praveen, my colleague with me from Thiruvananthapuram. Praveen, why do authorities now feel that the pilot overreacted? What were the circumstances on ground? Is the situation clearer now?
Gaurav, the situation is much clearer now. In fact, the whole incident, the basic information to the security agencies and the ground staff at Trivandrum Airport was the one given to them by the pilot. When the pilot pressed the hijack button, they had this SOP, standard operational procedure. They cordoned off the area. They got into the aircraft. They really didn't know what was exactly happening inside the aircraft. Only when they talked to the passengers, when they were talking to them, then only they came to know that see, this is what has happened, and there were no real threat to the cockpit or real problem. As the passengers, they didn't even try to enter the cockpit, or they didn't even try to assault the pilot.